Welcome to the Beyond AI podcast, a series that highlights the best thought leadership from the best guests on the best shows. This episode features Robin Dunbar speaking with Alexandra King on the Beyond podcast.
Well, the official limit on the number of friends and family, I hasten to add, that you can have is 150 people, which is Dunbar's number. So that's your extended family and all your friends. One way to think about it is all the people who at least once a year you try to keep contact with. In the old days when people sent Christmas cards, it was exactly who you sent Christmas cards to. So if you totted up everybody in the family that you sent a card to, it comes out to about 150.
150 still seems like quite a lot. If you count, so you're counting friends and family and co-workers in here?
Oh, co-workers can be friends. I mean, that's the difference. Out beyond the 150 is another layer that we think of as acquaintances. And so a lot of the people you work with would be in that sphere, as it were. But some of the people you work with become friends because you get on well with them, you see them after work.
Okay, so when people have like 300 plus friends on Facebook, that's not true.
Well, it's not true anyway, for two reasons. But really what they're including is acquaintances. So acquaintances are people, we go and have a beer with them after work, but we would never invite them home. That's the big difference. The 150 you would invite home.
Could acquaintance be someone you've come across, just someone that,
yes,
I know you, yes.
But I think acquaintance is a bit more than just I met you once at a party and we exchanged phone numbers. Yeah. That you actually see them on a regular basis, and you would go out and do something occasionally with them, even if it's only go and have a beer, because beyond the acquaintances layer runs out to about 500 people, and then beyond that is one more layer, which includes people whose faces you can put names to, basically. So they
sometimes.
Well, no, anybody else is beyond that layer. If you can't put a name to the face.
Depends on one's memory.
Well, I mean, these things have a range of variations. So, the average number of friends and family that people have is 150, but the range of variation is probably from about 100 to about 250. In fact, to get somebody who is outside your 150, so somebody you've basically just met, a stranger, into at least your 15 layer, your regular sort of social little clique, takes about 200 hours of face-to-face contact. Right? It's hard work. And that's partly because you've also got to drop 200 hours. You've got to drop somebody. If you want to bring somebody else in, somebody's got to fall out of your circle.
Brutal. Right?
And you see this most clearly demonstrated in romantic relationships because for obvious reasons, not many of us fall in love with the people in our innermost circle, right? They come in from way outside the solar system. Usually they're strangers, but very often we're introduced to them by a member of our extended circles. So that you bring them right into the center and you've now got 6 people instead of 5.
Too much.
But this person is taking, because of the nature of the relationship, is taking up twice as much time. So they're taking up 2 units. So you've actually got 7 units of person time where you should only have 5. And what do? You drop 2 people. So you reduce the size of that circle to 4. And what you usually do is drop a family member and a friend, right?
Yes.
But by and large, they're successful as bullies rather than as people managers.
So what's the difference between that? Someone who's genuinely, let's say, the exotic, confident, doesn't mean badly to anyone, is just by nature such a person. And then the one that is maliciously, I don't even know the difference, maybe they're not trying to be malicious, but maybe they just are a bit, what is that thing that is so horrible?
It's charismatic leadership, actually, is what it boils down to. And we're very prone to following people who appear charismatic and appear to have gifts that are greater than the ones we have, that they make good leaders to follow. And we do it all the time. pop stars, celebrities, people who invent stuff and become, CEOs, of charismatic CEOs of a big organization. And that kind of has a place in our social world, because in the end, social world is about cooperation and diplomacy, but you can't have sort of 500 braves in the organization.
Incredible.
Right? But if they're talking about somebody's mind state, Hamlet, who's not there, so it's Hamlet's friends talking about Hamlet's mind state, and he's doing whatever he was doing somewhere else, he reduces the number to 3. And what he's doing is making sure he doesn't overload his audience's abilities. Right?
That is smart. Wow.
3, normal human adults, there's nothing unusual about them, as it were, psychologically. The lower limit is about handling 3 mind states. And that's perfectly fine. You can get by in the social world and conversations and all these things quite happily with third order mentalizing, as it's called. But it does mean that a 5th order mentalizing story just becomes incomprehensible to you.
Overwhelming.
So you like stories which involve only a couple of people's mind states. And this applies to our preferences for humor as well. In fact, they'd rather have a slightly bigger share than you. Whereas, well, I was going to say your dog will let you have half, but actually he probably wouldn't.
No, yeah.
But anyway.
It's fair enough. But you'd happily let them have that. That's the thing, you'd sacrifice yourself, wouldn't you, for your pet?
Yeah.
Your friend?
Yeah. And I think
Not
that's
so much.
not uncommon.
Yeah.
That people have very close attachments.
I was happy actually to see the posts on Facebook, because I thought, it's like me. Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about, there's something I read on your LinkedIn, which is about gossip, and that's a really lovely, good thing. Why would you say something like that? Because gossip for me, I do find sometimes when I go into these circles and, chatting, and it tends to be actually a lot of the time, the sort of the mum with the kids crowds, and then the gossip starts, and there's someone being sold at all times, and I always. Why?
Well, this all hinges around how you define gossip.
Okay.
Right. So that kind of horrid sense of gossip, right, wicked sense of gossip, is actually relatively recent. So there is a sense in which gossip, this positive sense of gossip, plays an important role in managing our relationships, because you, by definition, cannot possibly know everything that's happened 24 hours a day to all your 150. You can't even do it for probably your romantic partner as the one closest person in position number 1, because some of the time they're elsewhere, right? So what we rely on is a chain of information flow, i.e. gossip, through the network created by our 150s. And you see this particularly with family. So that in family contexts, there's almost always a person called a kin keeper.
Okay.
Usually female, because they do it best. But what their role is to keep everybody up to date on how everybody's doing, how little Jemima's new baby is getting on.
I might be guilty of that as well.
But they play a terribly important role. I feel
really like it's my duty to say to, so-and-so this has happened. So, but,
And you, in some sense, family networks are better than friendship networks from this point of view, because there are so many interconnections. It's like a spider's web. So you can get information. If Jemima doesn't tell you, Penelope will,
Information transfer.
Yes, it's all about information transfer. Now, that helps us keep up to date with how things, and therefore you don't make faux pas when you bump into somebody and, you say, I know, maybe they just got married or something like that.
Okay.
Things won't happen. People will just drift away, and any group that tries to be democratic in that sense, that's bigger than 50, simply doesn't survive.
You need a strong leader to manage a big group, and okay. So what then makes people want to push others away? Because you've got that thing too. Where you think, oh no, what's that all about?
I think it's just basically the fact that you don't connect with them, right? You've got nothing in common with them. So all these things that create this homophily effect, both are biological and psychological traits, but also these cultural traits, the 7 pillars of friendship. At the end of the day, if you don't have enough connection with people, the relationship won't last, right? So this is, the classic case is, I don't know, you're there in the bar at Ibiza or some seaside place, and it's 4 a.m. and there's only one other person in the bar, and it turns out you both happen to be enthusiasts for tiddlywinks, right? It's a
I never thought about it like this, but it's an
process.
investment.
Yes.
Gosh.
Now, what seems to happen is introverts take a kind of risk averse, so they really want to be sure that when disaster happens, and the problem is you can't legislate for it. It's too late to go and ask somebody to help you out in those sort of states of affairs, as it were. If you don't already have a relationship with them, you have to have set that up ahead of time, well ahead of time, for them to be willing to do it. So what they want to be sure is that the people they have in that little group really will do the job. So they'd rather have fewer of them and invest more time in each one. And that means they have smaller networks. Whereas extroverts seem to trade on their social skills, as it were, and social confidence to handle weaker relationships. So their view is, well, if Jemima turns me down and won't help, I'll go and ask Philomena, because somebody will do it.
Somebody, because
and then what they have is more friendship. So their social networks are bigger than 150, but the average emotional closeness is much weaker. Time is fixed. You can't
no more time.
Create time because each relationship has its own time demand depending on the emotional closeness, which layer that dictates how much time you have to invest. Because if you don't invest that time, that relationship will decay inexorably.
Yes.
It takes about 2 years of not seeing a person for them to move from, say, your 15 layer, so a good regular social friend, to become just an acquaintance, somebody I once knew.
That's frightening.
That's if you don't see them at all.
Yeah.
Right, which is what tends to happen. If you think about your experience, you went away to university somewhere, you had this little group of people you did stuff with, and then you all parted company and went different parts of the world, right? And some of them you made a big effort to keep up with, and they tended to be the 1 or 2 platonic close friends. But the others, you kind of feel very guilty about not keeping up with, but you just don't have time because you're meeting all these other new people.
That was Robin Dunbar speaking with Alexandra King on the Beyond podcast. Visit beyondai.media to learn more. See you on the next episode.